And when we hear the music as we go through a segment, that means we're getting ready for break. So you've done this before. Is it your first rodeo?
That means quit talking.
Yeah. Yeah, just wrap it, throw it back, and then I'll throw us a break. And we should be on Facebook Live now, so I'm not sure, but Jose should be able to grab it now, Woody.
What was that?
We're on my Facebook now, so Jose should grab it. Everybody joining us on Facebook, I have the incoming Fresno mayor. Is that how we greet you? Or are you the?
I have so many titles now.
Yeah.
Officially, it's mayor-elect.
Mayor-elect.
That's
Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer going to be on Business Leaders Live here. We go live at 9:05 on Talk Radio 1680 KGED. We're all sheltering in place. The studio is on the call here with Zoom, and I'm at home, and they still call you Chief, right? You're never going to lose that.
Chief Jerry, mayor-elect, and some other names.
Some other names you can't say on the radio. All right, we'll be going live in just about a minute here. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you share it, you like it, you comment. Be nice. Be nice. We were talking about information out there in the world, and there's so much information today that we're overwhelmed. We're overwhelmed with so many feeds and so many bits of opinions and information about everything. So we're gonna talk to our mayor-elect, and we'll talk about the future of Fresno, and what happens in Fresno sort of transcends throughout the valley. So it's important. A lot of pressure, brother.
Especially in today's environment, right?
Yeah, but you're the man for it. So I think you're going to help us pull through together on this.
Yeah.
We should hear music here in a little bit, and then we'll get started. If anybody has any questions, Jose will be monitoring on that.
I got 1 minute.
And we'll get back to any question or any information later in the program. We also have Pastor DJ Criner. He was one of my 40 under 40. So we have that great event every year, 40 under 40, and DJ, such a fun guy. And
he's under 40?
Yeah, barely. He's under 40, you're surprised.
He led a rough life. I'll tell him that when he
30 seconds.
You know he's watching the stream right now. So.
I know he is. I'll pay for it.
30 seconds.
All right, 15 seconds. Stand by.
All right. Thanks, Woody.
From AM 1680, this is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza, the behind-the-scenes story of the business shakers and movers in the Valley and beyond. And now, here's your host, Lance Cardoza.
Good morning. We're coming via Zoom to your shelter in place, wherever you're listening to the show, either on AM 1680 Talk Radio, AM 1680 KGED, or you're listening to us anywhere in the world live on talkradio1680.com. And now, because of shelter in place, because of the coronavirus and COVID-19, that we are sheltering in place our programming. So we're calling in via Zoom to KGED, where Woody's there and Jose running our video on the back end, streaming to my Facebook, and also streaming to Talk Radio 1680 KGED. On today's show, I always bring you a different guest, and we talk about, in this 2020 kickoff of the year was a booming economy, and we had some great guests on the show. And I think this guest, Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer, that's on our program today, and he's sheltering in place. He's here on Zoom. We were at the Big Fresno Fair, my friend, and we were talking at the fair with large crowds and a lot of excitement and celebrating Fresno County, celebrating our valley there at the fair. And it's a different way of life right now. And you have big shoes to fill, where Mayor Brand is dealing with this on a daily basis in Fresno. Thank you for being on the program, Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer.
Thank you, Lance. Appreciate you having me on today. And look forward to having DJ on the second part of the program.
Yeah, Pastor DJ Criner will be joining us. We were talking about just before the commercial break that I have a 40 under 40 event every year. Business leaders or business street online.com has the 40 under 40. We've been doing it for almost 15 years now. And Pastor Criner was on there last year. And before the break, I had mentioned that he was in the 40 under 40. And Mayor-elect said, he's under 40? So it's like you do have those guys that you wonder, like, they just slide under the radar. But he'll set the record straight when he joins us live here on the radio here in a little bit.
Yeah, he's a good man of God. I love DJ Criner. He's a good man.
He brings you a little bit of hope when you need hope, when you're down. And that's why I thought of you, and I also thought of him in the same breath that I want to have you on this show, and really a show of hope. It's a different way of life, and you're hearing it probably every day. What are you hearing out there? Because you're talking to small businesses, you're prepping, I'm sure, and you're getting ready to take the helm of the city of Fresno as mayor. What's going on out there?
Well, I spend a large part of my week interacting with city manager, the mayor, the department heads in the city of Fresno, as we go through the financial impacts of this COVID-19 on city revenues, and having to make some critical decisions today, as well as what the future is going to look like. But I also spend a lot of time with people in the community who are trying to do good. In fact, I just got 2 texts from individuals right now who are finding ways to help people in need. We were able to secure $20,000 to purchase masks for police officers and firefighters. Just got another donation to purchase masks for our bus drivers who are out there on the front lines as well. And then, we started this nonprofit as a result of 5 generous business leaders, givehelpnow.org. They put up $500,000 so as a match for people who want to give specifically to a nonprofit organization who are helping individuals who happen to be negatively impacted by COVID-19. And, whether it's the Food Bank, Marjorie Mason Center, Rescue Mission, Catholic Charities, Pavarello House, there's a lot of organizations out there who are at their capacity. So been spending a lot of time generating funds, working with organizations, and really, just trying to make a difference in these challenging times. I shared the other day with some folks that, when you're going through difficult times and you're isolated or sheltered in place, we have a tendency as human beings to start thinking about ourselves. And I believe it's more important today than ever that as we are isolated, that we start thinking about other people and how we can help those people who are in need. And when we do that, our problems become very, very small. And I think that's important for all of us to do in our day-to-day life right now, is to find ways that we can help other people and encourage people.
Yeah, and I think also, too, one of the things, and we were talking about it before we started the show, is to not convolute ourselves with so much information that we tend to create scare tactic. And I tell people all the time that it's the scare tactic tends to be the sometimes educated, or they're easily to believe something, and then they create a panic. And it's I think the educated, I'm seeing that they want more information. So they, like a sponge, they keep just feeding information, and they tend to create insanity in yourself, that you tend to get, like you said, you worry about yourself and you stop to focus on human life and how precious it is, and how the people, even when we were in a good economy, people that were suffering that we would ignore at times are hurting even more today. And even the ones that were riding a wave of success and doing well are facing adversity right now. And I think sometimes we have to slow down with the information and go to reliable sources and take care of your family and your health. And it should be no different than anything before COVID-19 hit us, and just taking care of your family and yourself and others around you.
Yeah, and I think Lance, it's times like this that we start doing some soul searching. Maybe that is a good thing. I think it's God's way of getting us to reset. Who we are, what's important to us, and as we're sitting at home, I think it is important for us to all of us to reevaluate our priorities in life. And I know for me, it's a challenge. I can't see my grandkids. I have 5 grandkids. I did get to see them, but it was from a distance. And, you want to respect the parents and you don't want to expose them to anything they shouldn't. My parents, thank God they're still alive, but, interacting with them on the phone primarily. And as we know, our a lot of the seniors out there, they're not doing Zoom. They're on the phone. So
Yeah.
Just a good time to reevaluate what's important to us. And I can't wait to hug my mom and dad, my grandkids, and my kids when this is all over.
Exactly. And I think that we are all looking forward to that. It's hard to talk about business when it's hit home to so many people. You have uncertainty. My business, I produce live sports on television. Fresno State basketball, we just wrapped up getting ready for the Fresno Grizzlies season, 20-some games on KAIL. And then I'm a talent buyer for the concert business and festivals and fairs all over the United States and events all over the world. And dealing with agents and that hustle every day came to a grinding halt in the second week of March. And that business is forever changed, just as many businesses have been hit and forever changed. So we're sort of like in this limbo with businesses.
Yeah.
Restaurants, their sources of product and what they wrap the burger in, and those companies that produce all those products, some of them are gone away, or they don't have the capacity to produce the everyday norm, and businesses are struggling with that. My downline is no longer in business. They're on pause, and they've had to lay off workers. So there's a ripple effect across the board.
Yeah, and I think that ripple effect is going to continue for a period of time, even after we resume some form of normalcy. I've talked to a lot of business owners in Fresno. Mike Sherinian over at the Elbow Room, he's laid off 100 employees. Stuff like this is devastating to people. We don't realize how much our restaurant industry does. I know from a business perspective, I think 12% of all of our sales tax revenue comes from restaurants. And so when you lose that, I'm not talking about the revenue to the city. I'm talking about when those people who were working ended up losing their revenue. And so, but I think there's some other good stories out there. There's one group, they're called Neighborhood Industries. I just talked to them the other day. They're in the Tower District, and they had 42 employees, and their business was really training people and placing folks into jobs. And many of these individuals that they place were people who have gone through some really hard times. Well, when the economy shifts, there's no place to place those individuals that they've recruited or trained. And so that they made the decision, along with Bitwise. Bitwise, I believe, Jake Sobral somehow came up with $100,000 or so to fund this. And 42 employees now transitioned into delivering groceries to seniors. Yeah. All over, not just our county, but different counties. Right. And I was talking to Anthony, the guy that oversees it, and brought tears to my eyes to see somebody dump all of their resources into it and do that. Incredible.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer.
All clear?
Woody, were you trying to break us there? I lost the clock.
Yeah. Well, when you hear the music come in, because I'm working the clock and the cart wall on the same screen. So when you see that clock disappear, you have 1 minute exactly.
Woody, time out. The Facebook Live, you get to see the behind the scenes. We're not hearing the music on our side. So when I see the clock disappear, I know you're getting ready to do the bumper. So
yes.
When you do that, then I know the bumper's getting ready to come, and then I'll start to throw out.
Yeah, in about 30 seconds, right.
Got it. Cool. All right. Yeah,
you got it.
I looked down, it disappeared, and I wasn't sure, but we got it in. But yeah, I love that program that Jake and Irma, they came up with. And I know like Talisha Brantley that works with them. Talisha, little shout out. I was working with Talisha on the Pulse, and we were bringing entertainment to Bitwise. And Mike Wartella, and if you remember that name, Mike Wartella, was the gentleman that was on the Broadway show Wicked, that had a night in the town and recorded the video, and everybody lost their you-know-what here in Fresno. And they wanted this guy's head on a pike pole. They were so upset. But then Mark Sandriff reached out to the gentleman. Knew he was a talented gentleman and wanted to show him a little bit of, this is what we're about. This is Fresno. Took him to Yes, took him around, and he really appreciated Fresno. I reached out to him when Talisha said, we want to bring
1 minute remaining,
a little bit out of the norm, to bring Mike. And Mike was very excited about it. And he was going to come here and perform with another Broadway star out of LA. And they were going to be at Bitwise's venue to come back, give a little love to Fresno, and make a donation to the Boys and Girls Club too. He was going to do. I talked to Diane Carberry. And that show was supposed to be Friday night, this past Friday.
Yeah.
So he was so bummed. He's sitting in Manhattan, in New York, dealing with the chaos there.
30 seconds remaining.
He sent a message, said he'd much rather be in Fresno right now.
Yeah.
But he's really fell in love with Fresno. So we'll have that show eventually, maybe August, September, hopefully. We'll see.
When I get in office, we'll bring him back. How's
Awesome.
that?
Sounds good. I love it.
15 seconds, stand by.
You are listening to Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza, the behind-the-scenes story of the business shakers and movers in the Valley and beyond. Once again, here's Lance Cardoza.
Welcome back, everybody, to Business Leaders Live here on Talk Radio 1680 KGED. We're live on Facebook via Zoom. We're zooming into KGED and going to my Facebook at Lance Cardoza, Cardoza. And we're also being shared over on Talk Radio 1680 KGED's Facebook, and we're streaming with Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer, talking about our new way of life and how things are panning out for our life here, live on Business Leaders Live. We'll be joined by also Pastor DJ Criner after this next break. He'll be hopping in, and we'll be talking about a little bit of hope and a little bit of. We tend to get ourselves in a panic, and when we're in these situations. But like you said, we need to really assess our personal situation and really help the ones that need the help and be there for them. And this is a time of where we really become a community. We can't go hug, we can't go shake a hand, but we really can lend a hand and we can help people out. Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer on the show. You were talking about before the break this program where they're delivering groceries to seniors. And these are great programs in a time where people are worried and focused on their business. You have organizations like Bitwise with Irma and Jake that stepped up and are having their employees deliver groceries to seniors. I mean, I love it.
Yeah. And it was, when I heard about what they were doing, because it was all part of this givehelpnow.org. And I told Anthony wanted to be how do I get to be a part of that? Jake actually heard about it and put me and Anthony in touch. And so I, was learning about what they're doing. And when he said, we didn't have a lot of money, but whatever we had, we put into this food giveaway, this grocery delivery. And they buy food from the food bank, I guess. And then they use their employees to go out and distribute to these seniors. And, right away it touched my heart. And I told him, I said, anyone that you want to donate to your nonprofit, send them to givehelpnow.org so that our business leaders can match that dollar for dollar and buy those groceries for you so that you are able to distribute those to our seniors. So, and I think that's how the dots get connected in Fresno. A guy like Jake Soberall from Bitwise, it connects me with Anthony. I'm already a part of this other group. Now we have a network of tying resources together with need. And those are the good things that are happening in Fresno. And I got to tell you, I'm working with this other group called the Hidden Wealth Foundation, Karen Brar. And she gets a hold of me, wants to buy some masks, do some other things, buy masks for truck drivers and donating to our givehelpnow.org. So people just are coming forward with a attitude and a heart for generosity. Those are the things we need to focus on, not the constant bombardment with negative news. And we have to be aware of that, as you say, Lance, and educated. But we can't allow fear to drive our life, or we'll be in a fetal position and not have a desire to help anyone.
Yeah, when you're sheltered in place, you watch a ton of movies. And we were talking about this before we went live on the show, and I'm looking at what's rated. What are people watching the most? You know, the trending Twitter, and it's this pandemic and I forget the other movie, Outbreak. And I'm looking at that going, oh man, they're scaring themselves out of their skin to where they're making brash decisions. And a lot of them are moms with kids at home.
Yeah.
Are worried about their family unit, and they're panicked, and they're watching those shows. I chose to watch the Tiger King, so I'd feel better about my life. I barely got through it all. But you look at these situations out there where they're trying to feed themselves an answer and some closure and what's new and where do we go from here? And people, they tend to manifest this they scare themselves.
Yeah, fear breeds fear.
Yeah, every turn, and they're not sure what's next. So I think I love businesses really focusing on what they can do, not what you can't do right now, but what can you do. And I think all of us sheltering in place, what can you do right now to help someone else, to lend a hand, to pull us all through this? And we were talking about when you have landlords, it's a trickle economy, to where when they're not being able to pay the bills that they need to pay because people are not paying their due, it causes even a bigger ripple effect. But if you don't have the means, what do you do? So I think working together, figuring this out is the biggest challenge that our mayor-elect Jerry Dyer has in front of him as you take office in this new economy, this new world. We're riding high. And then,
Well, there's one thing, when I was out there campaigning, I got to hear about what the needs were in Fresno in terms of the presence of homelessness and trash in the neighborhoods, the sidewalks, the trees. It's amazing I haven't heard about any of those things in the last few weeks. It's because our entire focus has shifted to this virus, and it's become really life and death, and health takes priority over all of those other things. Mm-hmm. But at some point in time, the virus will subside. We will get back to some form of normalcy. Hopefully we will overcome the economic impacts in a short time. We will overcome them. It's just, how long that's going to take. And then we'll be able to address some of those issues that are so important to people in Fresno. The challenge for us in Fresno is going to be, once the revenues are not there for the city, how do we provide the same level of services that people come to expect? And we're going to have to get very, very creative. I'm a person that likes to gravitate to the word yes and not to the word no. I want people to get creative. No causes us to not be creative. And to find ways, just like right now, we're finding new ways of doing business in this crazy environment of isolation. We're going to have to find new ways of doing business without the accompanying revenues as a city. We're going to have to get very creative and multiply our use of resources, volunteer efforts, all of those things that I think people are doing today for others. We got to keep that going in our community. And when we do that, there's less of a need for government, more of a need for volunteers. And that's when we're going to start to see good things happen in our community, when we do that on a sustained effort.
You're on the front line, and as you said, you're in meetings with the city, our current mayor, Brand, and others at City Hall. And we're not out of the woods necessarily. We're all in this together to figure out what's the next step. What do you see in the forefront? It's a different way of life, like you said. We won't be normal. It'll be a little different in how we operate, and we need to think that way. But what do you see as a little sign of hope in what's happening in our economy of the Valley in Fresno in fighting this?
Well, I think the good thing is that a lot of the businesses, um, for example, our grocery retail, our much of our restaurant that does either drive-through, curbside, um, all of those businesses have stayed in place. I believe Amazon, Ulta, we're still doing the trucking industry. Agriculture is still in place, which we know is big for our valley. So, it's not like the entire economy shut down. We have certain parts of our industries that have shut down. Car sales, at least in person, then they opened up online. So, we've seen some of it offset. And I think what we're going to see, what's difficult for us right now, we're trying to plan the upcoming budget. And it's hard to plan a budget when you don't know what the impact's going to be. And so you have to make assumptions, and you're hoping those assumptions are right. Just like we see when the president does his daily updates, that there are some assumptions being made. Those assumptions we hope are right, and we use models. The model that we're using most often in Fresno is the model that has been put together in Washington, the state of Washington. We see what they've experienced and then how that translates to Fresno. That's why over the next 2 to 3 weeks, it's very critical that people are compliant and stay isolated, because this is our most vulnerable period of time, the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah. Which, it seems like an eternity, but I haven't taken a vacation in years. I'm one of those guys that doesn't take a day off. I can't. I got to hustle.
Yeah.
And I have spurts of family time, and then I'm back at it, and I go. And on a vacation, I'm taking calls. I'm like Gene Simmons when he goes to the bathroom. He's doing a conference call on the walk. So I can't shake
no Zoom. No Zoom in the bathroom.
And what it's done for us is to really reflect, like you said, on the important things in life and relax and be able to spend time. I was doing my daughter's, she's going stir crazy. So she's got like activities constantly. and we've had, it's almost like they're running a mini school. The schools are providing lunch for the kids during the week, and my wife picks it up, brings the kids food. But we had a little art on the deck of the house in the back, and everybody did a painting, and we all played. So it's spending the quality time. And these next 2 to 3 weeks, find those times that you can do that with you, Jerry, like you said, with your kids. You have Zoom. And you have these ways of your grandkids being able to connect and being able to not be able to tangibly grab them and touch them, but we're there and we're talking. Maybe trivia night on Zoom.
Marco Polo. I've learned the new app, Marco Polo, where my grandkids will send me a video, and Marco Polo is you get to it when you have time, but you get to review their message and then send them one, and so it's not in real time, but it is recorded messages, and it's fun. It's a good way of communicating with your family and friends.
And being able to stay there. So, the way I look at it, this next 2 to 3 weeks is like an extended vacation. We do still have the worries of financial and everything else going on, but take that time to sort of reset yourself and find your new being of how you feel about your life in general. And if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. So you got to take care of yourself first and be able to mentally process all this. It's a lot of information. And I tell people all the time, don't let it stress you out. Don't let it eat you up. We're going to take a short break here. We have Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer on the program, future mayor here of Fresno. And then Pastor DJ Criner, right after the commercial break, will be joining us right here on Talk Radio 1680 KGED. And we're going to chop it up for the next half hour of Business Leaders Live right here on Talk Radio 1680 KGED. Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.
All clear.
All right. Thank you. I'm bringing DJ on right now.
You got it.
Yeah, I think he's popping on here. Here we go. Can you hear us, Pastor? He's in, but he hasn't popped on yet. So he's connecting to audio.
Can you hear me, brother?
There, we can hear you. There we go.
Can you see me?
Nope, we can't hear you yet. Not yet. You might have the video camera on mute. There you are. Oh, there he is. Did you hear him talking?
There he went.
And I'm 36 years old, dude.
36, dude.
Brother,
I said, man.
I said, what? This guy, he must have led a rough life. Yeah, I feel bad, man.
Please, I'm the rough life. Oh, hey, man. I'm going to tell my wife on you, brother.
Now, when I said you were in the 40 under 40.
Jessica. Yeah, I heard.
Did you see the look on his face? He truly looked shocked.
I wasn't on. I logged off already.
Yeah.
I was thinking a man of your maturity. That's what.
Shut up, you liar. And I give this man compliments all the time, Lance. I promise you. I give him compliments. And I'll be very respectful on your radio show.
That's the way he's giving you love. That's the way he does it.
Yeah. I'm like, you're so far away, too. We are definitely social distancing right now.
You want me to get right here?
Yeah.
No, please don't, brother. You're going to break the camera.
I have blemishes. I don't want you to see those blemishes.
Doggone blemishes.
He didn't get his makeup on this morning.
Right, exactly.
I couldn't get my wife.
It's foundation. That's what I'm going to tell her, man. Be like, look, this is what your husband is doing to me. And you know how she feels. That's my sister, dude. Hey, you guys did a great job.
So 30 seconds.
We got the behind the scenes going right now on Facebook Live. So we're on Talk Radio 1680 KGED's Facebook.
Everything you said, you do it live.
That's it.
That's why. And notice, I was very respectful. Yeah. I was kind.
15 seconds. Stand by, gentlemen.
All right.
Giving you the inside story of business leaders in the Valley and beyond. This is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza.
Welcome back, everybody, to Talk Radio 1680 KGED. Lance Cardoza here with, now joining us, the pastor DJ Criner with St. Rest. How are you doing, DJ?
Oh, I'm doing well. Isolated in my home, in my office, and I was doing okay until I found out who all was on the show.
We have Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer has been on the first half, and he was ribbing Pastor Criner. They're very good friends.
Hey.
He was ribbing him about, Pastor, you were in my 40 under 40, and we had a great evening there at Chachansey Park, and I was listening that before we were going live on the radio, and the Mayor-elect looked shocked. He's under 40?
Yeah.
I said he must have led a rough life.
Man,
you know I love you, DJ.
My rough life started the moment I met Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer, and then all of a sudden my life, I mean, it was just stress after stress after stress. So every stress line and bump, you know the statement is black don't crack. It's starting to crack now.
It's starting to crack now. He's putting you to work.
Man, tell me about it, brother. Lord Jesus.
We're talking about it's good to laugh. It feels good, because we're all shelter in place, and that's all, every call and everything we're doing is we're helping somebody, and it's a situation or a problem, and it's good. I tell people, if you're going to watch Netflix, don't watch Pandemic, don't watch Outbreak. Watch something that's going to make you laugh. Yeah, Contagion, this stuff, now we're advertising it, but it's just, watch something that's going to make you feel good. And right now we need to laugh, and we need to be able to think about those moments of when we're going to celebrate with friends and be able to be right there and with them. So, and right now we're trying to take care of what's next? What are we doing for tomorrow, and what's going to be happening? There's a lot of good going on. Mayor-elect Dyer was talking about, Pastor, about programs that are being implemented and the businesses that are lending in hand and putting that out there. And I know that's been a big part of your life. And one of the things I liked about when you were on my show, Pastor, you were talking about the economy around St. Rest and on the west side of Fresno, and the economic development and a different approach than what a pastor typically would take, and about helping a community. And that's when we were doing good and we were doing well financially, and things have changed in this situation of COVID-19. But more than ever, like Dyer was saying, that we need to be able to do that even more now and put out that hand. What do you see happening out there, Pastor? And what's your focus these days?
Well, the greatest focus. Well, first of all, Lance, thanks so much for having me on, brother. I really appreciate it, man. And to Mayor-elect, my brother, thanks for also being on, brother, and just giving the hope that you've been giving for the past couple of weeks, along with our current mayor, Mayor Lee Brand, who I think is doing a great job right now with leading the city in this crazy epidemic that we were just kind of thrown into. But really, I think like the main message that we're trying to give, and not just myself, pastors from across the city, from Brad Bell to Bob Willis to Paul Binion, Jim Franklin, B.T. Lewis, Dale Oquist, all we are kind of coming together for one cause, and that is to provide hope. I mean, I have never been in a position or in an epidemic like we are now. I know there are my grandparents were definitely a part of one back in, I think, 1918. But to see something like where it shuts the entire world down, not just a state or a city or a country, but an entire world just kind of comes to a halt. I think right now is the perfect opportunity for us to give what we're called to give as pastors, as faith leaders, which is hope. I mean, it's not the time to criticize or to knock people down. I mean, people are already feeling as crappy as they could feel at this point. Even business owners who have a little bit of change in the bank are starting to feel the crunch because they don't know where their next check is going to come from in order to be able to continue to take care of their employers. We were talking about landlords, right? I mean, we're talking about homeowners who are renting out their homes. And on the first of the month, there were many individuals who were concerned almost to the point of depression because the mortgage still needed to be paid. But there were people who were renting homes that didn't have the finances to do so. And so the message, Lance, that I think needs to be given, that we're trying to give, is hope. And that's not just in words, brother. It's also with Zooming. It's with Facebook posts. It's with Instagram posts. It's with sermons. It's whenever you are seeing someone, you're smiling. It's interesting, bro, because my wife and I went to the store a couple of days ago, and my kids were in the car, of course, as we were heading home. From picking up some groceries. Everyone had their mask on, right? And my kids rolled the window down as I was walking out, and my youngest started waving and smiling and saying, "Daddy, hurry up and get to the car." And the gentleman who was walking past the car stopped, turned around, and started laughing. And I told her, "Roll the window up." And the guy pulled his mask down and had never seen or met me before. And he said, no, please, have her say something because right now I just need to laugh. And we looked at each other and paused for a minute, smiled at each other and said, you know what, this is a time where everyone just needs something to laugh about. And if we were to see ourselves as children where they don't really know much of what's going on, they just want to have granddaddy or they want to have dad, they just want to laugh. I think that the world will be a better place. And maybe that's what God is doing. He's just causing us to pause on what we thought mattered, to reflect on what really matters, and that's each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think there's no better cure than a smile for somebody and be able. That's why I was before when we were doing the test.
There you go, DJ.
If you're listening on the radio, here on Talk Radio 1680 KPG, I encourage you to get the Facebook stream.
When I do coming on the show.
Put the Facebook stream on.
Because contagious, man. My smile is contagious, man. Forget
Your
you,
smile
man.
is contagious.
It is contagious. And in this time, you have uncertainty. I mean, like we were talking about, watching these movies and you get worked up and you gotta be able to smile and relax and
Yeah.
be able to. You can't make good decisions, and you can't do good with others if you can't put on your own oxygen mask. You're not going to help the person next to you.
And I
That's right.
think the fear is, Lance, that there are some tragedies that are occurring in our country. Look to New York, look at Tulare. I think Tulare County now has had 6 deaths,
Yeah.
2 in Fresno County. So people are really afraid to laugh, to make light. They don't,
Yeah.
or to make it sound like we're not taking it serious.
Yeah.
There is
Right.
a way, and I think Pastor Criner says it. You gotta recognize the severity and the seriousness of what you're facing, but at the same time, you can't lose your sense of humor. You can't,
Right.
because that is the thing that keeps us as human beings. Gives us our energy, gives us that positive mindset. We just can't lose that, our ability to laugh.
Absolutely.
And you have to, and well said too. There's a lot of family members that have lost someone to this. A lot of families on the East Coast that have family members that are there and scared for them in this process. So, I think the number one thing, and there's people going through things that have nothing to do with COVID-19 right now. And I'm going to give a little shout out. I've been praying for them, the Tadlock family. Tadlock, he managed the Save Mart Center at one time and then went down and is managing a stadium down in LA. Their daughter is battling for her life right now. And it has nothing to do with COVID-19. And saying prayers for the Tadlock family and being able to give, if I can give a little sense of hope and a smile, because there's a lot of those people that are maybe dealing with situations that have nothing to do with COVID-19, but it's affecting our world so much that we forget that people could be struggling with something else in their life right now. So when a time and place when we can't go give them a hug, we can certainly give them a smile. We can give them a little bit of love over the phone and be able to be there for each other. Future of Fresno, like Mayor-elect was saying, we have to do more in a time when we can and help each other out. And I think you said it, Pastor. I think on social media, share those messages of positivity and a little fun. My daughters they get bored and they start doing crazy stuff on Instagram and Facebook and everything they can, but it's all things that I'm noticing to make people laugh. In a time that we need to do that more than ever. On April Fool's, my oldest daughter, Chloe, she had a friend record a message saying that we're all going back to school tomorrow. So everybody needs to be ready to go back to school. So she woke the kids up in the morning and put them in the car, and they were all confused. Like, why? Okay, and they drove, and she's driving them to school. She has us on video, Chloe Cardozo. And when she gets to the school, she's joking April Fools. And my little one, my grandson, Nico, goes, "Are you kidding me?" And then he goes, "Wait, we're really not going to school?" And I think he was depressed.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was so depressed.
Yeah.
You mean I
kids are
got
tired of
ready and
looking at us.
everything? I got so excited. So for the first time, kids were excited to go to school.
Exactly. I can't wait to go to school, man.
He was
They're
so
tired of looking
bummed.
at us.
He was so bummed. I felt bad watching the video because he looked like his soul was ripped out, that he couldn't go back to school and see his friends. And
I wanted to ask a question of Pastor Criner. You guys aren't able to have church services like everyone else. How's everybody dealing with that in the congregation, your staff, and so forth? How's that work?
Oh man, so a lot of pastors, we have like this group thread where we talk about like the current position that we're in as pastors, and you would be shocked at how much many of us are like missing our church members. And these are typically like our church members who at times you're like, oh my gosh, man, you guys like chill, like laugh, enjoy each other. And now that we're away from each other, it seems like it's been almost 4 months since we've been with each other. And of course, bro, that this is the most important week in the Christian calendar.
That's right.
And to be honest with you, across different religions, this is the most busiest month. From Islam is Ramadan, Jewish brothers, they celebrate Passover this month. Buddhism celebrates their New Year, but for Christians, this is Holy Week. So typically we're always together, but we're finding ways to get together. So they're on WhatsApp. They have a WhatsApp, and different ministries in our church have different WhatsApp names. It's an app on our social media. that we're able to hang out. And I mean, they're doing rap battles with each other. This morning, there's a battle. We're dealing with Revelations and Bible study, so they have to come up with a rap, an 8-line rap on the Church of Laodicea. And Valerie, one of our members.
We're going to take a short break. Let's talk more about that when we return here with Business Leaders Live. Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer and also Pastor DJ Criner for St. Rest. We'll be right back.
All right, all clear?
All right, thank you. I love it. I love it. And then, yeah, when we come back, let's talk about that. And I think it's even business-wise, you know, we have an event every year, the Real Estate Forecast with Economic Development Corporation. It's always a big event. It brings all the real estate people together with the Fresno County Economic Development Corporation. And it's moved to July. And, you know, there's a lot of business events out there that are having to think about it differently. How do we go about this? What do we do differently?
What hurts the most is we were supposed to do 6 weddings between the end of April and the middle of May, and every one of them have had to be pushed back. And Jerry, I don't know if you have thought about this. Those that have passed away, like funeral services, you know that has had a major impact on a lot of families. And yeah, we have the business side of it, and even with the funeral companies, I mean they're suffering a little bit because they're not able to do what they typically would do. What'd you say, bro?
Have you had any funerals yet during this time?
We've had a memorial / wake that only consisted of 7 people.
Oh, wow.
And and the next one, you know, the first Black chief of police, Floyd White, passed away. So his service is scheduled for Saturday at Cooley's. Yeah, and the sad part about it is it's only like 10 people, and that includes the staff and the preacher. And so you know how family are. It kind of puts family in a vice.
Who gets
exactly like you got it, brother. Exactly. So I mean it's tough, man. It's tough. So we had to rearrange our funeral requirements. I mean, Sinead done an awesome job of trying to make sure that's done right. But man, it's a crazy time for a lot of people, and you just don't know when everything's going to kick back up.
Yeah. First time. I've never known a time when we could not come together on Easter for church.
Right.
And it's like, it's hard to believe. I mean, it's hard to believe, like a bad movie with no ending.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. And I think that's where I think we have to be careful not to, we dwell on that, and we tend to, I think we get stuck in this vicious replaying of, like you say, the bad movie with no ending, because there could be more to come that it hasn't hit yet. And I think we get into a situation of, like you said, if we can provide a little bit of hope, it might be something a little bit different in the way we do things. And I love the idea of help others that need help, you know, and if anything is more healing than that.
1 minute remaining, guys, 1 minute.
That I think that's the biggest thing that we can do right now. We have one more segment when we come back. We're going to have that segment. It's probably about 7 minutes long. So I do want to touch on, like you said, I've wondered when you look at what New York's going through and you hear Governor Cuomo talking about it, and you see the bodies and everything that's being dealt with there. First thing I thought of is families. How are families being able to process the death of a loved one? And that's
30 seconds.
That's a great question. Like, what do you do at this time of being able to celebrate the life of a loved one that was lost, and maybe it had nothing to do with the virus itself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
15 seconds. Please stand by.
During this time, what does that look like? My daughter was supposed to graduate Fresno State.
I know, man.
That was
I know. I remember we talked about it at the 40 under 40. Like, that's crazy. And high school graduations too.
Yeah. Stand by.
You are listening to Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza, the behind-the-scenes story of the business shakers and movers in the Valley and beyond. Once again, here's Lance Cardoza.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. We have Business Leaders Live. This is a very special episode for me, and we're doing shelter in place. We're using Zoom. We have Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer on the show. We have Pastor DJ Criner with St. Rest Church, and we're talking about the new way of being normal. Like, how do we get through? We're finding out the most important things in life, and we're all in this together trying to figure it out. But during the Facebook Live, and I encourage people always to go back and watch the Facebook Live, that you get some of the behind the scenes. You get some of the stuff that you don't want to see or hear, and you get some of the stuff that you're going to laugh at, and you get the real. And I love the question that Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer asked Pastor Criner, and how about funerals, and how about, Pastor, you were talking about weddings during this time, and those are being pushed back, but funerals are one of the things that really, it's a celebration of life. And I've always wondered about all the families from patients that had COVID-19 that passed, but how about someone that passed of living a long life, and we need to celebrate their life, and we just can't do it as a group today? What is happening at the church with that?
Well, I mean, still trying to make sure that we adhere and respect the recommendations and the mandate that's come down from state and from our city, and following the health department's recommendations. Most of us, and I say most because I'm not sure if all, but I'm pretty positive that most faith-based organizations, specifically the churches, have adhered to that. And the funeral homes have done the same thing, from Cooley's to Sterling's. I mean, they've done an awesome job at helping the church out by way of just letting families know kind of what their recommendations and regulations are within their chapels and within their viewing centers, where it's typically 10 people. And that includes the staffing as well as the officiant. And that's hard on families. We were just talking, me and Mayor-elect were just talking about one of the major key players in our city that have passed away, legendary, the first Black fire chief, Floyd White, and how this Saturday the family's having a tough time on trying to celebrate his life with limited family access, and then what family members are able to come in and out. It's tough. It's a new normal that we're almost having to walk through for this temporary period that no one knows how temporary the period is going to be.
Absolutely.
That's well said.
Temporary
period, but we don't know how temporary it's going to be.
Yeah. Do you see at some point when things can be semi back to normal that the churches are possibly going to be overwhelmed with stuff like that? So I'm sorry, I got Alexa on me. Alexa,
what's Alexis telling you to do?
She said, I'd head to my next meeting, but I'm like, I'm not going nowhere.
I ain't going nowhere right now, man.
No, nowhere. It's canceled.
Well, what you were saying, Lance, is when the church, when everything opens back up, and I'm pretty sure Mayor-elect, because I mean he's very active in his church. Our secretary Shanae just texted and said, let Mayor-elect Jerry Dyer know that we're happy that we're out of church for a while, and then put, I'm laughing and I'm lying. At first, people get an opportunity to stay away from church, and they're like, oh, okay, I don't have to listen to DJ, because typically my sermons are only 10 minutes long. They're not long at all, Lance.
4 hours and 10 minutes.
Shut up, bro. All right.
4 hours.
But lately, I mean, our Bible study crowd, our kids, they're all like, we can't wait to get back to church. We can't wait to get back to church. We can't wait to get back to church. Because sometimes I feel like God takes things away from you to kind of remind you of how well you had it when you had it, And being together on a Sunday morning is like our highlight. It gives us peace. It gives us joy. It's just exciting to see each other. And as Mayor-elect was saying a minute ago, there has never been a time where we were coming up that we ever remember that on Easter Sunday morning, we're not going to be together. That's hard. That's really hard. That's a tough thing to swallow, right, brother?
Yeah, I can't. We'll know Sunday morning. But
right.
It's going to be a tough time. But I am going to say this publicly, that until a person's been in Rest Church and watched you preach, they haven't been in church. Pastor DJ Criner is an incredible pastor and brings it, and his congregation, their choir, it is incredible. When you leave there, you've been to church and you've been close to God. So I had to say that publicly, DJ, because
thanks, brother.
You're an incredible, gifted pastor and preacher. I mean that.
Thanks, man. The people at St. Rest are awesome. I love them, from Jackie, the organist, all the way down to Shanae, the crazy secretary, man. We are some crazy people that love God, man. And And all of them are on right now, Lance. They listening to you. And
They're all listening.
Messages.
Hey, they're very
Oh, my
protective.
gosh,
When we were trying to announce that you were in our 40 under 40, they were like, who are you calling? What are you calling with? It took a while to get to you.
Well, because they know that he's not really, they didn't know he's under 40 either.
They were shocked.
Oh. Hey, man, look, man. I'm only
You must not be talking about
man.
our pastor.
Yeah, man. I'm only 36, man. I'm a chocolate 36-year-old man.
Oh, man.
And you're trimming down. You're gonna have to
start getting some more sleep.
I had to lose weight because this man would talk about me every time he stood up at our church to preach. And then Lance, when I saw you and I saw how much weight you were losing, I'm like, I can't let this man beat me, man. So I'm only eating whole chickens. That's it. Nothing else but whole chickens.
The whole chicken.
The whole chicken.
Shut up, man. The whole thing.
I really appreciate you guys being on my show. Typically, we're talking to business leaders and we're talking about the trials and tribulation of their career and business and what they're doing. And when I had you on my show, Pastor, last time, you had this energy of just made you smile. And I was thinking about, I need smiles on this week's show. I need somebody to give a little bit of hope, a little bit of let's see where we're going. And then I need the rubber meets the road. I need the man. I need the guy that's going to take the bull by the horns in the future of Fresno. So I knew I had to have Mayor-elect Dyer on the program as well. So I appreciate both of you for being on Business Leaders Live. And maybe Easter looks like this. Maybe Easter looks like this on Zoom. And unfortunately, we have some folks that don't know how to operate Zoom or any type of, let's help them out. Let's help them out. And let's be there for them and help get them connected and figure out how to get through this together. I appreciate both of you guys.
Lance,
absolutely, brother.
Thank you for having
us. Love you guys.
DJ, I love you, man. You're the best.
Love you too, brother.
All right.
Love you, Fresno.
Love you both. Thank you for being on Business Leaders Live.
Fresno.
Next Tuesday morning, we'll be right here at 9 a.m. on Business Leaders Live. We'll talk to you then. Thank you so much.
See you, brother.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. See you.